So, Dr. Fox, we've talked a lot today about nutrition, about cortisol, insulin resistance, PCOS, and stress. I think stress has come up in each one of those conversations. How can we reduce stress? What does that look like?
Well, that's a tough one. I mean, our world is extremely stressful. So what we do, I call it my stress precautions that I talk to patients about. So we talked about nutritional stress. So if we can get patients on a good high fat, ultra low carb diet, we don't have fluctuations in blood sugar. The brain thinks there's plenty of food around because we're getting high calories, at least adequate calories, so that takes the nutritional stress away. Sleep is something that we haven't really talked about, but it's now very apparent that adequate sleep is very important. I mean, in some instances, they use sleep deprivation as a measure of torture. So it's critical that we get good sleep, and the sleep really needs to happen in the dark. So night shifts are bad. Sleep apnea is bad, which is common in PCOS because it disrupts sleep. So that's another one. We work really hard on sleep. We need 7 or 8 hours at night, good sleep. And then the aerobic exercise, most women have already been sensitized in their teen years. They were on the volleyball team, they were track team, swimmers, whatever it is. So the brain's already really sensitized to that heart rate elevation stress. We recommend 90 or 100 heart rate or less. We don't advocate that you just sit on the sofa all day. Walking and the step counter, I think, is a very valuable tool. You can walk all day if you want to. If you think about the cave woman, that's all she did was wander in her environment. Maybe she hauled kids around or, picked up things, whatever. Nature didn't really prescribe this intense exercise. And then the last thing that we work on with people is caffeine. Caffeine, in my opinion, is a terrible drug. It's so embedded in our social structure, it's really hard to get people to unload the caffeine. Caffeine, however, in all studies that you look at, doubles your cortisol level, even at very low doses. So maybe the equivalent of a tablespoon of decaffeinated coffee could be enough to double your cortisol. So if we think of cortisol as a very strong stimulus of insulin resistance and weight gain, we see the sort of central adipose tissue deposition in response to cortisol. If we can get rid of coffee and caffeine, that's probably a huge improvement in our sort of overall stress picture. And then other things like meditation would be great. A lot of patients use acupuncture. I think that's great. A lot of these other avenues are helpful. And so if you're a runner who runs 2-3 hours a week, you take that time and sort of shift it in these other activities, then that's more physiologically positive.